Hey, my name is Bill Ferreter, and it's time for another 2-minute team tip. So, I was working in a school district today that's pursuing goal setting as an instructional practice in all classrooms. And a participant asked me, what's the best tip that you have for using goal setting with students? So, I wanted to go over that with you. First of all, I'm super jazzed that you're considering integrating goal setting into your work. Goal setting is actually one of two types of thinking that your brain craves. The other is satisfying curiosity. And goal setting is so incredibly powerful because it releases actually a hit of the hormone dopamine, the reward molecule, into your bloodstream every single time that you set and achieve a goal. What does that mean for learners? It actually feels good to set and achieve a goal, and it can create a positive addiction within learners. It can tell your brain that the heavy lift that was required to do hard things was worthwhile because it knows that that reward molecule is going to be released when you achieve the goal. So one of the ways that we trick our brains into doing hard things is to set and achieve goals because your brain knows that it will be rewarded in the end with that reward molecule, dopamine. That to me is amazing. But I think the most important tip that people need to hear about goal setting is it doesn't have to be overly complicated. If you dig back into the research quote that I shared first, goal setting can be as simple as checking something off of a to-do list. Now that rings true for anyone out there who is a to-do list maker, doesn't it? Don't you feel good each time that you check something off of your to-do list? I know I do. I literally add things to my to-do list that are easy to do so that I can check them off. And when I do, I actually feel that same rush of dopamine, the feel-good feeling when I'm able to cross things off. Like if you're a to-do list maker, you know that I'm talking the truth here, right? And I think that's a mistake that we make when it comes to goal setting with students, is we think it has to be some overly complicated thing. Like let's set a long-term goal and track our progress towards mastery of that long-term goal. I know that I used to have students writing SMART goals in my classroom, and while all those strategies can be worthwhile, they also don't feel very doable to classroom teachers. And a good idea that's not doable isn't really worth doing. So let's go back to that notion of setting and achieving a goal can be as simple as checking something off a to-do list. If that's true and we know that it resonates with us, then why aren't we giving students opportunities to check things off of to-do lists more regularly in our classroom? Here's an example. I like to suggest that teachers write success checklists. Here's an example for solving and graphing linear equations. It's literally 5 steps that you would take or things that you'd be able to do if you could solve and graph a linear equation. So what if we gave a success checklist to students and had them collecting evidence and keeping track of which of the individual steps on the success checklist they were able to do? And each time they gathered evidence that they could do something on the success checklist, they could check off that item. That's goal setting in a classroom too, and I think it's far more doable than some of the other things we pursue. Pro tip, if you want to use success checklists with students, is always include an item or two on your success checklist that are below grade level things, maybe prerequisites. Why? Well, because then every student, including those that are struggling, gets the experience of being able to check something off. And let's be real, when you're using a to-do list and you're checking lots of things off the to-do list, it sort of builds momentum. We want to do that for students too. Let's give them a chance to have academic victories, even if they're working below grade level, because it might convince them to continue to work their way down the to-do list. If I can do the first 2 items, why not try the third? If you're struggling to figure out what a success checklist could look like, I do want to let you know that my friend Mr. ChatGPT can help you write them. ChatGPT is an AI assistant that can help teachers with lots of tasks. If you want the prompt for that, pause your video right now. There's a prompt on my screen right now. If you add that to ChatGPT, you'll get a success checklist for whatever standard you're trying to teach. Now, let me give you one additional idea about what goal setting might look like. Let's say that after you give an assessment, you create a tracker for your students that bundles the topics that were covered on the assessment and pairs them with the questions that were tied to each of those individual topics. So on this assessment, there's 3 topics, and the student can see which questions are tied to each topic. Then, when you're going over answers in class, what if you had kids shade in the questions that they got right and the questions that they got wrong? If they do, the students get discrete levels of information about what they've mastered versus what they haven't. This student, for example, if we were to give them a traditional grade, earned a 60. There's 10 questions, they got 4 wrong. But there's reasons for hope within the data for the student, right? Because 2 out of the 3 outcomes they've actually mastered. So if I'm a student, now I can set a goal for myself to learn that 3rd target. When we give traditional grades, that level of discrete information isn't always available to kids. I got a 60, so what do I do to improve myself? I'm not really sure. But if I'm able to track my answers by what I got right and what I got wrong, and if those answers are broken down by individual objectives or the questions are tied to individual topics, now I can set a goal for myself. I need to work on learning the 3rd objective on this quiz. And if we wanted to take it a step further towards goal setting, what if we gave students a bank of actions that they could take to improve their score? Right? That's what you see in the far right-hand column on your screen now. So a student who's able to track their score by topic or their performance by standard can now set a goal to improve. I want to get better at target number 3. And have very specific actions that they could take in order to improve their learning. So now it's not just I got to get better at outcome 3, it's I've got to get better at outcome 3, and there's 2 options that I can pursue. Do you see how important that is for students? What we're suggesting is you don't need to wait for me to tell you what you know and you don't know. We can see evidence of that here. And more importantly, you don't need to wait for me to tell you how you can improve your learning. You can choose an action from the bank that's on your tracker. See, that's setting and achieving a goal. I want to get better at outcome 3. Here's some actions that I can take. That's what goal setting can be too. So I think the number 1 tip that I would give to people when it comes to goal setting is don't think that it has to be an overly complicated process. What research says is goal setting can be as simple as checking an item off of a to-do list. So let's start giving students more opportunities to do that in our classrooms. Both it's approachable for teachers, it's not a heavy lift, and for students, they get in the routine of seeing that they are achieving things, and that feels good for learners.